What I'm about to say, I don't say lightly. I think Mob Psycho 100 is going to probably be a part of my top 10 anime of all time. This finale is just such a ribbon on top. Such a 10 out of 10 episode. Like, it's close to as perfect as you can get, I think. It is that good. Like, everyone that has worked on this show has done a fantastic job. To the animation, the art, the music, voice acting, story, characters, just everything about this series, it has everything. It has everything you would want. And there's not many series that really leave me just so satisfied. It's such a satisfying episode. I'm like, at peace with this series, because even some of the greatest series of all time that I have personally read, there's a lot of series when I finally close the final page on the story, like I read the final page of the manga or the final episode, I'll watch it. Usually, even though it's over and it's concluded, sometimes there's some things in me to where I'm like, I'm not a little bit satisfied. Like, I'm not satisfied with the conclusion, I want a little bit more. But Mob Psycho 100, it satisfied everything I wanted going into it and more. It did so much more than I ever expected from this series. And, I mean, I especially have to take note of just what they did with the opening song. And I don't think many probably realize that, but I want to mention it. The broccoli. The giant broccoli. Now, at first glance, it's hilarious just to see that some broccoli seeds morphed into that giant broccoli that's like bigger than a city. It's crazy. But even though it's funny, it's comedic, there is something about it that has been foreshadowed for a very long time. If you go back to Mob Psycho 100, Season 1, Opening 1, and you watch the opening, you will see an explosion, and then the explosion turns into broccoli. In the opening. The original opening of Mob Psycho, you see that. It's just like, the amount of planning that was done for Mob Psycho, Studio Bones went all in with that opening song. The original opening song hinted so much at Season 2, and just so many little details they have thrown in here and there. It's just like, there's just so much quality all around. I mean, the passion from Studio Bones, the team that worked on this, is insane. And I cannot believe this is the final episode. I don't know if we'll ever get a Season 3. I don't know if there is enough content for a Season 3, but I am very satisfied. Even if I don't ever have another season, I'm pretty satisfied with this conclusion. It is, wow, what a journey. What a journey for an anime. It's been a long time since I've just been this happy and just had this much closure to something. But Let's talk about the nitty-gritty. So one of the things that really I love about this episode is it shows how Mob is a character, how even though he's a great person, he's changed a lot. There's some moments to where he can slip back into what he once was, or what he could potentially be, and how with the wrong influence, he could be someone truly horrible, terrible. For instance, the president that was going after, Mob in this episode, at the beginning, he was baiting Mob, constantly talking to him, and he made Mob have this, bloodthirsty, aura about him. Like, he was just excited, happy to be able to use his power and fight this guy. The man just seemed really excited about it, and while he was doing that, he was laughing, he was smiling and all that, and he just looked like a demon. You see how he looks at his brother, and he realizes what he's been doing. He was reminded of what he did to his brother, and then he kind of shut down and just completely didn't want to do that anymore. He didn't want to relish the fact that he was, enjoying this power trip that he had while fighting the president. And so that moment right there, it just shows that even though Mob has changed so much, he can easily slip back into something really bad, depending on what happens, and I like that, because that's very human. That is something that does happen to humans. No matter how good you are as a person, no matter how much you've changed, there is some parts about you that can easily slip back into old ways, or potentially just go off the deep end and become something really terrible. And that's kind of what that scene was trying to show, is that no matter what Mob has been through, he could slightly go back to that, depending on the situation. And so that will always be a threat. But even then, he still pushed through, and he fought for it to be able to actually stick to his morals and not become a horrible person. Especially when he was fighting the president, when he was like, I don't want you to go alone. I don't want you to die alone. That entire moment, it was a really emotional moment, because what Mob said right there was, it just really stood a lot for Mob's character. Mob is someone that has been there, done that when it comes to everything that the presidents went through, but also Serizawa. And he's seen both of their perspectives. He knows that there are different paths that Mob could easily have taken. For instance, Mogami is another path as well. Mogami was someone very destructive, someone that was literally just, he was awful. He was a menace on humanity itself, and Mob could have easily went down that path. And Mob realized this. Serizawa, he was someone that Mob could have easily went down, and been very similar to, been manipulated. And he was kind of being manipulated by Regan in the earlier portions of this series, but obviously thanks to the wake-up call that Regan got earlier on in Season 2, it made it to where things changed quite a bit. And so, Mob has gotten to see different paths that he could have taken. For instance, the path of anger, the path of, hatred, the path of just loneliness and just solitude. There's just these different things that he's gotten to see. And seeing the president at the end of this episode, he's like, you're alone. You have nobody. So the thing you're lacking is not luck, but people, bonds. And it sounds very cliche, very cheesy, because it's something you would see in a lot of shonen series, friendship power-ups and stuff like that, or talking about, my Nakama and all that. It's something you would commonly see. But in this case, it fits so perfect, because that's exactly what happens to people sometimes. You lose sight of what's around you. And that's kind of what that scene was representing when you saw the president, when his wife walked out and left and all that, and he turned around, he ran out the door, and he opened up the door, and it was just solid white, nothing there. It was basically representing emptiness. There was nothing. Nobody was there. And he realized in that moment, he had nothing. Nobody was there to stand behind him to help him out. He was on his own, by himself. Nobody would ever be there for him. He lost everything. And so in that moment, to be able to overcome his solitude, his loneliness, he thought he was the best, and he decided to rule the world. So we got a little bit insight to his character and why he did the things he did, but it just, what he went through is very real. People do that. Sometimes people have their own way about them, like they go about a certain way with their life, and the way they handle certain things pushes everybody away. And because of that, when they finally realize what's wrong, it's too late. The damage is done, there's nothing that they can do to fix it, and that's what happened to him. And so Mob realized that there was nothing he could really do for the man. He was pretty much too far gone. Mob was sad for him, so he didn't want the man to be lonely in death itself. So he decided to die with him. And thankfully, thanks to the broccoli seeds being able to absorb all of the energy is why that was a-okay, why, they were able to survive. But even then, though, I'm just very impressed by just the storytelling, and I think because of just how Studio Bones did the pacing to the story, to the voice acting, it really nailed every single aspect that I want from an anime series, or at least from a show in general, not just an anime. When I'm sitting down and trying to, look at media, read media, watch media, I want something like this, and it nailed everything I want from a series, and like I said, this is why I think it's easily going to be a part of my top 10 anime of all time. It's just such a masterpiece. It's phenomenal. So, one thing I do want to say, but to wrap up, I really do love the fact that within the fight, Mob was like, body improvement club, and when he punched the dude, that was a great moment because it kind of symbolizes everything that Mob has been through since the very beginning. For instance, he's someone that's been using the Body Improvement Club to actually better himself and tries to strive to be better. And in that moment when he uses that, it wasn't just the fact that he was channeling, Body Improvement Club to actually use physical power. It was the fact that he was reminding himself of what's important to him. He was surrounded by people that cared about him, and that's what he had over the president, and so that's what happened there. So there's just so many double-layer meanings to all of these individual scenes throughout the episode that I just think that, honestly, one, as a writer, surprises me. I really am just dumbfounded by how good of a writer he is. I mean, I know he's a good writer. It just, seeing a story like Mob Psycho and just seeing One Punch Man, it's just crazy to see how talented a writer he is, because it's rare to see a writer be able to make so many good series at once, because, normally a writer, they only make one good series. There's usually one series that stands out, and that's pretty much it. But somehow One, as an individual, has been able to make something like Mob Psycho and One Punch Man so successful with such good writing that I think nobody ever expected it. I do really look forward to seeing where he takes his next work. If he ever has another work or something brand new he makes, I do look forward to seeing what it's going to be about, because the man is definitely a talented writer. So I think that's pretty much about it. It's over. Mob Psycho 100 Season 2 has come to an end. It's been a blast. It's been fun. It's been such a journey with Mob as a character. He has developed so much, and words alone cannot say what he has went through and how much development he's had. So I'm just going to leave it at that. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, how you felt about this final episode of Mob Psycho Season 2. Do you think we'll ever get a Season 3? Let me know your honest thoughts in the comments below. Will you be adding this to your top 10 anime of all time? And will you also be saying that this is potentially a masterpiece? And so with that, I love you guys. If you enjoy my content, please subscribe. If you like this video, please leave a like. And with that, Chibi out.